This is disc number 2.
Helena, it's that dog again. Helena! I don't know how you can sleep through that racket. Yeah, I'd better go see to it. A jug of water will soon send it away. Come on, dog, where are you? Ah, there you are, under that tree. Why don't you come out where I can see you? That's it. I've got a nice cold bath waiting here for you. That's it. Out you come. Dear God! You're no dog! My God! What kind of creature are you?
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead. Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter.
Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jarrem Lee and Joe Caliendo Jr. as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, All Cats Are Grey.
My name is Arthur Bennett, colleague of that renowned investigator of the strange and supernatural, Jarrem Lee. During my time with Lee, I had come to appreciate that the most curious of cases were often brought to our door by the plainest of people. This was the case of Mr. Harold Rayner, who arrived at our doorstep one early morning in April 1902.
Thank you for seeing me in such short notice. It's really very good of you.
Think nothing of it, Mr. Rayner. Now, please, do take a seat. I trust you don't mind my colleague, Mr. Arthur Bennett, being present.
Is he discreet?
Most definitely.
Then I have no objection.
Bennett, you better take some notes.
Of course.
Well, Mr. Rayner, what seems to be the problem?
I don't know where to begin.
Well, then let me help you. You're worried about your wife, are you not?
Yes, that's right.
Something to do with her illness?
Yes, but how on earth did you know?
When a man continually fidgets with his wedding ring, it doesn't take a great leap of imagination to realize the cause of his concern.
No, I suppose it doesn't.
And you'd agree that no conscientious wife would let her husband leave the house with his collar turned up.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So I asked myself, why is she so inattentive?
You did?
And when I saw the medicine bottle poking out of your pocket, the reason was obvious.
It's all so simple when you put it like that.
Somehow, I think my deductions lose their charm when I explain them.
What's wrong with your wife, Mr. Rayner?
She's been suffering from an overwhelming exhaustion.
You've obviously sought medical advice. Has it helped at all?
No, I can't say as it has.
And how long has she had this lethargy?
For a number of weeks, but that's not how our problem started.
Oh?
For around a month or more, we've been visited each night by a creature.
And what does it do?
It sits outside our bedroom window and howls at us.
You said creature. Don't you know what it is?
At first I thought it was a dog, but when I saw its face, it was like no animal I've ever seen.
Well, what did it look like?
Its face was not like a dog's at all. In fact, it was almost human.
Tell me, did this creature have a tail? Please try to think. The point is most important.
No, I don't think so.
And what did your wife make of these nightly visitations?
Helena? She slept through the whole thing.
Night after night?
Well, yes. There was nothing I could do to wake her.
Curious, isn't it, Bennett?
Indeed.
So, what has happened in the last week?
Well, firstly, that creature has stopped coming.
Oh?
As you can imagine, I was very much relieved by this. But then I began to notice a change in my wife.
Go on.
She complained of being tired and began to take a lengthy siesta in the afternoon.
Did she seem anxious about the sudden desire for sleep?
No, if anything, she seemed to look forward to lying down for a rest.
Again, another singular point, Bennett.
I called in the doctor, and he prescribed a tonic, but I can't say it's done much good.
No, it wouldn't. Now, perhaps you could tell us what made you decide to consult me at such short notice.
It was last night when it happened. We were lying in bed as usual, when I was woken up by a noise. Dear me, I'd hoped we'd seen the back of that creature. Helena, it's back. Helena! Why, I do believe you'd sleep through an earthquake. And I've got a surprise for that animal this time. Let's see how it likes buckshot. Now, where are you? Yes, I see you. But you're different from before. Yes, you're a different kind of creature altogether. More like a cat than a dog. If you just look this way, I can take my shot. That's it. Just look this way. It can't be. I can't believe it.
What did you see, Mr. Rayner?
I saw its face.
And?
It was my wife's.
Are you certain?
Yes, Mr. Bennett. That creature had the same face as my wife.
Bishop Stockton is the third stop. We should be there in no time.
When Harold Rayner said the creature looked like his wife, you didn't seem very surprised.
That's because I wasn't.
Really?
I encountered a similar case some years ago.
What happened there?
The girl in question began to long for sleep. So much so that she became increasingly drawn into the spirit world.
But why?
She said that when she was asleep, it was the only time she felt truly alive.
What was the animal that Rayner saw?
It was an aspect of his wife.
But he said she was lying in the bed next to him.
And many cultures believe that inside each of us is a spirit animal. It only needs to be drawn out.
Oh?
Some consider these creatures to be a form of astral projection, although the phenomenon of repercussion has been documented since medieval times.
What exactly is repercussion?
It's a technique used by witches to send out an animal familiar. These familiars were also said to be a protection of the soul.
Are the creatures always the same?
The soul can be represented by almost any mammal. It's even possible that someone's spirit animal may change over time.
I see.
You know repercussion is the least common form of lycanthropy.
Mrs. Rayner is a werewolf?
Of a kind. Oh, you needn't look so worried. She's not like that creature that tried to bite you in Fallsburg.
Then we've nothing to fear from her.
I didn't say that. They have both a physical and psychical presence in this world.
Meaning?
We'll have to be on our guard against all forms of attack.
What happened in that other case?
The girl became increasingly catatonic. It got to the point where she was almost impossible to wake. I just couldn't work out why until I finally saw her spirit animal one night.
What did it look like?
I couldn't say. I only remember looking into her eyes. They were alive, wild animals, but behind them there seemed to be a kind of deep human wisdom.
And how did you cure her?
I didn't, Bennett. She died in her sleep 2 days later.
Is this the Rayners' house?
Yes.
Surely it's too late to go calling on people.
I very much hope the Rayners will be in bed by now.
You're not thinking of housebreaking?
No, just trespassing. And before we start, you better close the shutter to the lantern. Let's go through the back garden. Over there. Those bushes should give us plenty of cover to hide behind.
What are we waiting for?
Quiet. Something's pushing open the back door of the house.
Heavens, it's a large black cat.
Yes. It's a panther. But look, she has no tail.
I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Quiet. She's looking this way.
Did you see her face? It was human and yet...
Come now. Let's follow her. Bennett, Shine the lantern here.
Footprints?
Of a giant cat. If you had any doubts about whether she's real, then that should settle them. Come on, let's catch up.
There she is, walking right down the middle of the road.
She's stopped.
It's like she's listening for something. Who do you think she's calling to?
I'm not sure, but it's answering her.
She's headed off across the fields. There's no way we can keep up with her in this light.
No. We better call it a night and resume our investigations in the morning.
Mr. Lee, I didn't expect to see you so early.
We're not too early, I trust.
No, I'm glad you could come so promptly.
And how's your wife today?
As bad as before, I'm afraid.
May we see her?
I'm not sure. She's absolutely exhausted.
It's most important, Mr. Rayner.
Yes, of course. The bedroom is this way. Helena, dear, there are two gentlemen to see you.
Not now, Harold. I feel so tired.
But that's precisely why they've come.
Can't see it will do any good.
Why don't you let us be the judge of that?
They're only here to help, Helena.
Oh, you'd better come in then.
Thank you. Mr. Rayner, perhaps you could bring us some tea?
Yes, of course.
So, what seems to be the problem, Mrs. Rayner?
Oh, I feel dreadfully weak. All I want to do is rest.
And when you sleep, what do you dream about?
I don't know.
Come now. All this time in bed and you can't remember your dreams? It hardly seems likely, does it, Bennett?
No, I can't say that it does.
Mrs. Rayner, you do want us to help you, don't you?
Yes.
Well, without your cooperation, we can do nothing.
Will you tell us about your dreams?
They are most strange.
But they seem very real.
Sometimes they seem more real than when I'm awake.
And during these dreams, do you ever meet anyone?
What do you mean?
Well, perhaps you found yourself thinking about someone when you wake up?
I really can't recall.
Bennett, perhaps you could shut the door. Well, Mrs. Rayner, did you meet someone in your dreams last night?
Yes, there was someone.
A man?
I was engaged to him once. It was long before I met Harold. He was my first true love.
It's often said that emotions feel stronger when you're young.
One felt so alive in those days.
So, how did the relationship end?
When my father found out what was going on, he forbade us to marry. He wasn't the same class as us, you see.
And now you've met him again in your dreams?
Yes, only it all seems so different.
Go on.
It's hard to describe. When I see him, it's like all my senses are so much more alert. The smells, the tastes, the sounds, they're all so much more real. And when we meet in my dreams, do you know what happens?
No.
We run together. We run through the fields and over the hills. It's the most wonderful feeling.
Where do you go during these adventures?
Last night, it seemed like we'd found the place we were searching for.
Did you recognize it?
It was High Top Hill. There, you can see it through the window.
And this ex-fiancé of yours, do you know where he is?
After our romance blew over, he went abroad. I haven't heard from him since.
I see.
Mr. Lee, what is happening to me? I feel so afraid.
Here we are. Freshly brewed tea.
That's all right, Mr. Rayner. We were just going.
You're leaving so soon?
We'll be in touch, won't we, Lee?
Yes, whatever happens, we won't be far away. A couple of bitters, please.
Certainly, sir. You're not from round here, are you?
No, we're wanderers of sorts, aren't we, Bennett?
Yes, I suppose.
In fact, you might be able to help us.
If I can, sir.
My friend and I are planning a trip overseas.
We are?
Yes. Only we don't know the best places to visit.
I would have thought a guidebook could tell you that.
Guidebooks? Never trust them, do you, Bennett?
Oh, me? No, never.
No, what we want is first-hand knowledge. I don't suppose there's anyone hereabouts who's well-travelled.
You could try Joe Wallace, I suppose.
Been abroad, has he?
Aye, for many a year. In fact, he's only been back about a month or so.
Sounds like just the man, doesn't he, Bennett?
Undoubtedly.
And where can we find this Joe Wallace?
He's sitting on that table behind you.
What? Oh, the gent with the blue neckerchief?
Aye, that's him.
Why, thank you. And keep the change.
Thank you, sir.
Do you think that's him?
Seems likely. The Rayner's problems started a month ago, didn't they?
Just after he returned. Are you going to confront him about the matter?
We must tread carefully. Let's see what kind of man he is first. Do you mind if we join you?
I don't much care where you sit.
Well, I was just saying to my friend here that you seem to be the most interesting person here.
And just what do you mean by that?
Picking up details of people's lives is a little hobby of mine. Isn't that so, Bennett?
Sometimes you'd swear he can read your mind.
Well, I'll bet there's precious little you can tell about me.
Then I accept the challenge. Now, let me see. Firstly, you've recently returned from the tropics.
My tan will tell you that much.
Oh, come now, a labourer who works in the fields may have a tan. It is the fact that you're still in the habit of taking a glass of tonic with your beer that shows you've been abroad.
All right. Whereabouts was I?
Africa, China, and most recently, India.
How did you work that out?
The tattoos on your wrist. The leopard, the fish, and the least faded is the elephant.
Elephants are found in Africa, too.
Yes, but not with ears like that.
Anything else?
From your deportment, I should say you were a military man.
You do sit with an exceptionally straight back.
If you're so knowledgeable, perhaps you tell me why I returned to England.
Well, I see no signs of injury.
No, that's true enough.
And you'll forgive me for saying, but you hardly look like you've come into great wealth.
No, that's true enough.
Then that just leaves us with one possibility.
Which is?
A woman.
In a way, you're right.
You found your thoughts turning to someone from your past?
There is someone, I'll admit.
Ah, an old flame.
Am I right? You've been thinking of her a lot recently.
If truth be told, there was a girl I was once engaged to, but it was such a long time ago now. Sometimes I think it would have been better if I hadn't seen that man.
What man?
When I was in Calcutta, I went to see an old Indian fakir one night. The locals were positive he had all kinds of strange powers, and a few of us from the regiment went along for a bit of a laugh. Only what he said had no funny side.
What happened?
It was the strangest experience of my life, and I've seen a thing or two, I can tell you. First he lit his incense burners, and he made me breathe the smoke, and then he began to chant. After a while he spoke to me. He said there was something missing from my soul. Then he told me to look into the smoke. Do you know what I saw?
No.
It was Helena. And she was as beautiful a picture as I ever saw.
And so you returned to England to look for her?
That was my intention. But when I arrived here and found she was married...
You decided to leave her alone?
I didn't want to ruin things for her. Besides, I see her enough in my dreams as it is.
Well, surely dreams are no substitute for the real thing.
These dreams are. It's like they're special in some way.
Interesting.
Well, gentlemen, I'd better be going now. I just don't seem to have the constitution I used to.
Hard to get up in the morning, is it?
Perhaps those dreams of yours are wearing you out.
Aye, maybe they are at that. I've felt so tired recently. Well, good day to you both.
Lee, hadn't we better keep an eye on him?
No, it's only 2:00. We've got plenty of time before tonight. Barman?
Yes?
Another round, if you please.
Very good, sir.
Barman, you know that man we were just talking to?
You mean Joe?
Yes, I forgot to ask him where he lives.
His place is called White Tree Cottage. It's on the road out to High Top Hill.
This looks like the place.
It seems he's out.
Shall we try round back?
Yes, why not?
He's not here.
Over there in that chair.
It looks like he's asleep.
Oh, this isn't good. I hadn't counted on him taking an evening nap.
He looks peaceful enough.
Careful. He's at his most dangerous when he's asleep.
What do you mean?
Helena, where are you?
Listen. He started to dream.
Should we try to wake him up?
No. If his spirit animal has already left its body, it could be disastrous.
Is there no way of telling?
There are certain techniques.
Helena, I'm coming.
Get back, Bennett. It's happening.
Helena, I'm coming.
Heavens, there's something emerging from his chest.
Careful, Bennett. He's seen us.
You said it could harm us.
Yes, and not just our physical bodies, too.
What do you mean?
He exists on the psychical plane.
You mean he could attack our souls?
Yes. Now step back. Gently.
He doesn't look pleased to see us.
In this form, he's just like any wild animal, which means he's just as unpredictable. When I say run, Bennett. Run!
He's gaining on us!
Quickly! Through the gate!
Come on, Lee!
My coat! It's caught!
Lee! Come on!
I can't! Ah! Get him off me! Get him off!
Lee, are you all right?
Just about.
You've been unconscious for quite some time.
I think his psychical bite was worse than his physical one.
Well, he's gone now.
Then you better help me up.
Are you sure you can stand?
Yes, I should be fine in a minute or two.
We should get that cut looked at.
Now, we've no time. We must try and find them.
Yes, but where should we look?
Listen.
It's coming from High Top Hill.
Mrs. Rayner said they went there in a dream. Come on, Bennett! Look, there's another one.
Lee, we're not on a nature walk.
Yes, but don't you think it's strange? Deer are usually so shy.
I must admit, we do seem to be seeing a lot of wild animals tonight.
Of all shapes and sizes. And like us, they're all heading to the top of the hill.
Do you think they're all going to the same place?
Yes, I do.
But why?
I believe we're about to find out. Look, we're nearly at the top.
Lee, just look at all these animals. There must be hundreds of them. Have you ever seen such a diverse congregation? Lee, is that wolfhound Walrus?
Undoubtedly.
All the animals, they're gathering around him. It's like he's giving them orders.
Reminiscent of a wedding, is it not?
If you're right, where's the bride?
There, on our left.
You mean the cat?
That's no cat. It's Helena Rayner.
Lee, all these creatures, do you think they're real?
You think they could be spirit animals?
Imagine it. All those people, fast asleep in their homes whilst their spirits are here, taking part in the ceremony.
At night, all cats are grey, Bennett.
What do you mean?
Who of us can really tell what is real and what is only a dream? One thing is clear. There's danger here.
To us?
There are some things which we humans are not supposed to see. Come on, let's leave them to it.
Oh, thank goodness you've come.
What happened?
It's Helena. I can't wake her at all.
Where is she?
Still in bed.
All right, Mr. Rayner, we can take it from here.
Is she completely catatonic?
Yes, I believe so.
She looks so peaceful, doesn't she?
It's just like the case I saw before.
Is there anything you can do for her?
There are ways of trying to make a soul return to the body.
Then what are you waiting for?
Just because you have the ability to do something, it doesn't necessarily follow that one should act.
Meaning?
Maybe what we saw last night happened for a reason. Perhaps it's nature's way of overcoming the difficulties we humans make on ourselves.
Like a father refusing to let his daughter marry the man she loves.
So ask yourself, is it right for us to interfere?
But what about Joe Wallace?
Somehow, I think we'll find him in the same state as Mrs. Rayner here.
Where do you think their spirits have gone?
Perhaps they're roaming the hills together.
And what about her body? Surely we can't just leave her here.
Without the spirit, she'll be dead in a matter of days.
Poor old Mr. Rayner.
Yes, poor old Rayner.
You have been listening to Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, All Cats Are Grey, starring Jerry Robbins as Jarrem Lee and Joe Caliendo Jr. as Arthur Bennett. Featured were Tim Vincent as Harold Rayner, Diane Capon as Helena Rayner, Lincoln Clark as Joe Wallace, and Carl Smith as the barman. Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley and produced by MJ Cogburn. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins with music by Jeffrey Gage. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the Air, this is David Alt speaking.
Well, are we going or not? Lee, did you hear me?
Going where, Bennett?
Lady Ashton's garden party, of course.
Lady Ashton? Yes, I believe I have an invitation somewhere.
It's been sitting on your mantelpiece for days, and you know it.
I thought you found garden parties boring.
In general, yes.
Then why on earth do you want to go?
Surely, Lee, even you must have heard.
Heard what?
Professor Gustav Radinsky. He's demonstrating his world-famous automaton.
Oh, let me guess. Is it some kind of clockwork animal? A singing bird, perhaps?
No, it's much more impressive than that. They say it can perform actions just like you and me.
Really?
Well, are we going?
I can see I'm going to get no peace until I say yes.
Finally, an answer. You know, sometimes talking to you is like... Wait a moment. What's that newspaper cutting you're reading?
Oh, just an article I found in last week's Le Figaro.
You've got more cuttings under your chair. They're all from abroad.
It's a shame your foreign languages are not as good as your chemistry.
I think you'll find Radinsky is spelt the same the world over.
Oh, is it?
Admittedly, you're just as interested in this automaton as I am.
All right, I'll admit it.
Well, you might have told me.
I missed you anxiously waiting to see if I was going.
I see. Pulling my leg, were you?
I'm sorry I couldn't resist.
Still, it does look fascinating, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. And if even half these reports are correct, we should be in for a thoroughly interesting time.
In science, one reasons by analogy. So when mankind is confronted by experiences entirely beyond his understanding, it takes an individual with intelligence and bravery in equal measure to push back the boundaries of the unknown. In London, in 1900, the solution to supernatural occurrences were investigated by a man who was famous for his dealings with the unknown and the worlds of the dead. Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter.
Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, starring Jerry Robbins as Jarrem Lee and Joe Caliendo Jr. as Arthur Bennett. Tonight's episode, The Radinsky Automaton.
My name is Arthur Bennett, colleague of that renowned investigator of the strange and supernatural, Jarrem Lee. The spring of 1902 saw the society pages filled with news of the forthcoming events of the season. There was the usual fervor of activity as each successive host sought to make their occasion better than the last. These attractions held little interest for Lee until he read of the remarkable device, the Radinsky automaton. And so it was that he duly informed Lady Ashton that we would be delighted to spend the weekend at Westcote Hall and attend her garden party.
Bennett, do at least try and look like you're enjoying yourself.
I'm sorry, Lee. It's just these parties are so dull.
Then have another glass of champagne. It should perk you up a bit.
Cheers. By the way, you never did tell me how you know Lady Ashton.
She has a rather interesting past.
Well?
Do you remember a music hall singer by the name of Annie West?
I've heard of her, of course. Wasn't she said to have the voice of an angel?
I saw her perform. For once, the critics weren't wrong.
Didn't she disappear 5 or 6 years ago?
With meaning. Yes. Around the time Lord Ashton became engaged.
What? You don't mean that Lady Ashton and Annie West are...
One in the same.
But how?
Surely it's not such an uncommon story. Lord Ashton became infatuated with Annie and promised her his title.
And what happened?
They were happily married, and Lord Ashton, the old reprobate, was dead within a year.
Well, she's certainly left her old life behind now.
A little too far, if you ask me.
Oh?
She's become quite a snob of late, has little Annie West.
You know, you still haven't told me how you found this out.
I once did a service for Annie. In fact, she even credited me with saving her career.
And just how did you manage that?
She was playing in one of our most haunted theaters when a spirit took a shine to her. It then began following her around the country as she toured, reappearing night after night in the audience. Can you imagine what it must have been like trying to hit the high note with a ghost smiling up at you?
So what did you do about it?
On the last night of her tour, I drew a seal around his seat. It made it impossible for him to leave the theater.
She never played there again, I suppose.
She wasn't allowed to.
Oh?
You see, the owner was none too pleased when he found the ghost. Well, you can see his point, can't you? I mean, he can hardly sell a seat which is already occupied.
Lee, you're pulling my leg again.
Oh, I am I? Just try booking seat 56 at the Empire at Clacton-on-Sea. You'll soon see what kind of response you'll get.
You know, I might just do that.
Oh, look out, Bennett. I think our hostess just seen us.
Is she coming over?
Yes, and just remember, not a word about her life on the boards.
Don't worry, Lee. My lips are sealed.
Ah, there you are, Jarrem. I do hope you're enjoying this evening's little soiree.
It's an absolute delight, Lady Ashton.
So glad you like it.
And pray, have you met my friend, Mr. Arthur Bennett?
I don't think I've had the pleasure.
Your ladyship.
Mr. Bennett is a scientist by training.
A man of learning? How delightful.
And I must confess, I'm looking forward to seeing Professor's automaton.
It's a most remarkable creation. You know, there's even talk of us demonstrating it in front of the Queen.
Us?
Obviously, I will have to be present. One has to ensure that certain standards are maintained in front of Her Majesty.
But of course.
Now you'll have to excuse me. I think the Duchess of Hertford has arrived and I can't let her go unattended.
I say, Lee, you weren't joking when you said she's a snob.
I tell you, she gets worse every year. By the way, isn't that Claudia Burnley who keeps on looking over?
That's my sister's fault. She's been trying to set us up for months. Oh no, I think she's coming over.
Quiet, please.
Saved by the bell, eh, Bennett?
Never a truer word said.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? As part of tonight's entertainment, I am delighted to present something truly spectacular. Please allow me to introduce Professor Radinsky.
Thank you.
And his marvelous invention, the Radinsky automaton.
Lee, have you ever seen anything like it?
No, never.
Lady Ashton, thank you for allowing me to demonstrate my automaton. As you will soon see, it's capable of doing almost anything a human can, and in some cases a little more. Now, if I could ask for a volunteer from the audience, this young lady, perhaps, would you care to dance, madam?
It looks like Miss Burnley won't have a dance after all.
I'd rather him than me.
I'd be delighted, Mr. Radinsky.
Alas, for me, is no longer possible. I have rheumatism, you see. Perhaps my automaton can take my place?
Oh, well,
Automaton, engage dance function.
Dance function, engaged.
Orchestra, if you please.
Madam, may I have this dance?
Well, very well.
Isn't it amazing?
Could certainly teach you a thing or two about the waltz.
With turns like that, it puts us both to shame.
Thank you, orchestra, thank you. And thank you, madam. Please, a hand for our charming volunteer. And perhaps one day you'll tell your grandchildren of how you danced with my famous automaton. What's that, my automaton?
One of the violinists was off-key.
Are you positive?
Quite sure.
Orchestra, could you pass me a violin, please? Here you are, my friend. Will you engage your music function and show the ladies and gentlemen how the violin should be played? Bravo, maestro! Bravo, maestro! But my automaton is not just a magnificent dancer and musician. He also has intelligence, which is unsurpassed.
Lee, is it possible for a machine to have a mind of its own?
May I have another volunteer, please?
Lee, what are you doing?
I'm going to find out more.
Ah, the gentleman on my left. What is your name, please?
Jarrem Lee.
Would you like to ask my automaton a question?
Indeed.
A mathematical one, perhaps?
Why not?
Automaton, engage mathematical function.
Mathematical function engaged.
Tell me, automaton, what is 32 multiplied by 13?
416.
Divided by 8.
52.
Added to 1,126.
1178.
Multiplied by 3,567.
4201926.
Bravo, bravo, and thank you, Mr. Lee.
Would it be possible to ask something else?
Ask as many questions as you want, but you'll soon find it can answer anything mathematical.
Then I'll ask something else.
No, that wouldn't be...
Tell me, automaton, what is your name?
I...
Surely you can answer a simple question like that. I only asked your name.
My name is Hiddink. George Hiddink.
Automaton off!
Switching off.
Mr. Lee, your question must have confused my machine.
Oh, I do hope it's nothing serious.
No, but please ignore what it said.
As you wish.
I am sorry to announce, ladies and gentlemen, this is all for tonight.
Everyone, could we please show our appreciation to Mr. Radinsky? And now, orchestra, some music, please.
Lee, what was that all about? And what was the name it mentioned?
I want to take a closer look at that automaton.
When?
Tonight, after everyone's gone to bed. Bennett, are you awake?
Yes, I'm ready.
Good. Come on then.
Did you find out where Radinsky took his automaton?
Yes, it's stored in the room at the end of this corridor.
Locked?
Not for long.
Do you always take a set of skeleton keys with you to garden parties?
It always pays to be prepared, Bennett. One of these should work. After you, Bennett.
Thank you. Which one is it? In this light, it's hard to tell.
Don't be fooled by all these suits of armor. The automaton will be the one under this dust sheet. Here, help me take it off.
It's even more remarkable close up.
Yes, but how does it work?
It seems to be modeled on the human body. Each limb is worked by a system of pulleys, just like tendons.
Yes, I can see that, but what about its mind? That's what interests me.
Well, now that's something I can't explain.
Let's see if we can open its chest.
There are some catches here. This appears to be the heart of the machine.
That's one way of putting it.
What do you mean?
Do you see these 6 glass vessels?
What do you suppose the liquid is inside them?
Do you have your pentagram with you?
After what we've been through, you know I always carry it with me.
Hold it up against them and see what happens.
What's inside those vessels? Why would the liquid react that way?
There's only one substance which responds to a pentagram like that. The human soul.
Lee, what are you saying?
See how each one has been labeled?
Joseph Petrov, James Carraway, George Hiddink. Lee, when you asked its name, that was the answer it gave.
Yes, and there are more vessels behind. You know I've been following Radinsky's progress around Europe.
Yes, I saw those newspaper cuttings you had.
Many of the talented people who met him became ill shortly afterwards.
Then these names mean something to you.
Surely you've heard of the famous violinist Joseph Petrov.
Didn't he die recently?
A week after Radinsky saw him play in Vienna.
And what about George Hiddink?
The late Professor Hiddink was head of mathematics at the University of Leipzig.
And James Carraway?
I had the feeling you wouldn't be able to leave my invention alone, and I can see I was right.
Professor, I think you'd better explain yourself.
Oh, do you?
Exactly what depravity has gone into making this machine?
Depravity? How can you say such a thing when you haven't even seen the full power? Automaton, on! Automaton, take the sword from the suit of armor there.
Quickly, Bennett, pass me the other one.
Here, Lee.
Earlier you were asking after James Carroway.
Well?
Perhaps the title of Captain J.C. Carroway is more familiar to you.
Didn't he die 6 months ago?
He may be dead, but his personality lives on.
Lee, Captain Carroway was famous for one thing.
Yes, I know.
He was the greatest swordsman in the Empire.
No, not was the greatest swordsman. He is the greatest swordsman. Automaton, attack!
Yes, Professor.
Get back, Bennett. I'll handle this.
But Lee, you can't possibly fight him.
I have no choice, Bennett.
Give up, Lee. You can't beat my automaton.
Never! I may be a little rusty, but I'm not without a few tricks of my own.
Well done, Lee.
I congratulate you on your skill. You are indeed a worthy opponent.
Thank you, Captain Carroway.
In the fight to the death.
That hardly seems fair. You're already dead.
Only my body is dead. My soul is here.
For your spirit, then.
Yes, for our souls.
So be it.
Fight him, you fool! Fight him! Yes, that's it! Yes!
Look out, Lee!
Now I have you.
Well, what are you waiting for? Kill him!
There remains some compassion in your soul, Captain.
I...
You see, Professor, no man of honor could kill someone who is defenseless.
But he is not a man! Automaton, I am your creator, I command you, obey me!
Yes, Professor.
Kill him!
No, you don't!
Function impaired.
You have a problem with the pentagram?
I can no longer function.
Turn it off, Radinsky. Turn it off before I destroy it for good.
Automaton off.
What on earth is going on?
Lady Ashton, thank goodness you've arrived. I just caught these men trying to destroy my machine.
I think you'd better explain yourselves.
Annie, this is not what it seems.
We only wanted to find out how the automaton works.
Don't steal my secrets. See, by their own admission, they are nothing more than common thieves.
No, there is something wrong here, something evil.
Professor Radinsky is a guest in my house, and I expect him to be treated with respect.
Annie, you must listen to me. You and your guests are in danger.
No, I will not have Mr. Radinsky abused in this way.
Annie, you must hear me out.
I want you to leave this house at once, and if I find you here again, I'll send for the police immediately.
I must admit, I've never been thrown out of a garden party before.
No, neither have I.
Well, what are we going to do about Radinsky?
What can we do?
Surely you're not going to let the matter rest.
No.
Lee, you're not without influence. Can't you contact Scotland Yard?
We've no evidence that a crime has been committed.
What about the Home Office, then?
And what would we say? And without proof, who would believe us?
Then our hands are tied.
For the moment, yes.
But we just can't leave them to the mercy of that machine.
No, we must remain on hand in case something happens. I only hope that Annie begins to see what kind of danger she's in.
Professor, may I have a word with you?
Oh, but of course, Lady Ashton.
I've just had the most exciting news.
Well, what is it, my dear?
It's an invitation from Her Majesty. You are to go to the palace to present your work.
That is great news indeed. I shall begin my preparations immediately.
Professor, on such occasions it is not uncommon for one's patron to also be invited.
You wish to accompany me?
Naturally, it would be a great honor.
Before I agree, there is one thing I should like to know.
Name it, and if it is in my power to tell you, I will.
This man Lee, when he spoke to you, he called you by a different name. I should like to know why.
Oh, Professor Radinsky, I'd rather not say.
Come, there must be no secrets between us.
Still, it is something I wish to keep private.
You are worried that I will tell others.
Well,
Perhaps I agree to tell you a secret you will tell me.
Perhaps.
A secret for a secret, you can't say fairer than that.
No, I suppose you can't. But whatever it is, it must be great indeed.
What about my automaton? If I agree to tell you how it works, then you will tell me?
Very well.
Then tell me, why did he call you Annie?
It was the name I used to be called.
Oh?
The truth of the matter is, I used to be a music hall singer.
Ah, I thought as much. Your name was Annie West, was it not?
Yes, but how did you know?
I have visited London once before, and I saw you perform.
Really?
They said you had the voice of an angel.
The press are always prone to exaggerate.
In this case, I think they were right. And I should like to hear you sing once more.
You flatter me greatly, Professor, but my life as a singer is over.
But for the world to be robbed of such a talent, it's unforgivable, is it not?
It's quite impossible, I'm afraid.
Then you are ashamed of your past.
The life of a lady and that of a music hall artiste are not conducive.
But why?
If people knew of my past, society would shun me. So when I became Lady Ashton, I vowed I would never sing again. It's a vow I have kept to this day.
I will never understand these rules you English hold so dear.
That is the promise I made. Now, Professor, I've told you my secret. What about your automaton?
When I started, I wanted to create a machine that could rival a human in terms of ability. Do you know what I found?
No.
After many years of struggle, I realized I could never succeed. No machine could ever match a man for ingenuity, skill, and cunning.
But your automaton is better than a man.
That is because I found the missing component.
Well?
A machine does not have a soul, and for this reason alone I could never create a machine to better a man.
When you talk of the soul, you're speaking metaphorically, of course.
No, I mean an actual, tangible soul.
You've actually created a soul?
No, not created. Collected. You see, I knew if I could create a machine to hold the souls of the world's most talented men, I would have the greatest creation in the world.
But that is monstrous.
Is it? Think about it, Lady Ashton. What I give, immortality.
Yes, but at what price?
You know, there is one talent my automaton is missing.
Which is?
A singer. I need the voice of an angel, Lady Ashton. I need the voice of Annie West.
No, I absolutely refuse.
It is much too late for that. Automaton, switch on.
I am ready, Master.
Automaton, prepare to remove her soul.
Soul extractor ready.
Professor, please.
I will make the voice of Annie West famous again. And when I present my automaton in front of the Queen, it will sing with the voice of an angel.
No, get back! No! Ah!
So we'll stay close to Radinsky?
As close as we can.
And what about tonight? It looks as though it's about to rain.
Let's see if we can find a pub in the village.
Lee, did you hear that?
It came from the house!
The door's locked.
Stand back, Bennett! It came from the study!
Lady Ashton! She's fainted!
No, not fainted. She's had her soul removed. This is your doing, Radinsky. You and your automaton.
What I've done is make her immortal.
Restore her at once, do you hear me?
Never. And now it has her soul. Let me show you what my automaton can do. Automaton!
Yes, Professor.
Automaton, sing for me. Now my automaton is complete. Now it is perfection.
The pitch of that note, it's making the automaton shake.
It's going to tear itself apart. Bennett, do you remember what the souls were stored in?
Glass!
Quickly, get out!
Lee, do you think it's safe to go back in?
There may be liberated souls in there. Have you got your pentagram with you?
Yes.
Come on, then.
Dear God. Look at Radinsky's face.
He must have died of fright.
all those souls he stole. Do you think they had their revenge?
Whatever Radinsky saw, it was more than his mind could take.
Are the souls free now?
Let's hope that wherever they are, they found peace. Every last one of them.
You have been listening to Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter, and tonight's episode, The Radinsky Automaton, starring Jerry Robbins as Jarrem Lee and Joe Caliendo Jr. as Arthur Bennett. Featured were Joseph Zamparelli as Professor Gustav Radinsky, Diane Capon as Lady Helena Ashton, and Lincoln Clark as the Automaton. Jarrem Lee, Ghost Hunter was created and written by Gareth Tilley and produced by MJ Cogburn. The executive producer was Mark Vanderberg, and the program was directed by Jerry Robbins with music by Jeffrey Gage. For the Colonial Radio Theatre on the air, this is David Alt speaking.
This has been a production of the Colonial Radio Theatre on Brilliance Audio. For further information concerning this program or other Brilliance Audio titles, please call the following toll-free number, 1-800-222-3225, or visit our website at brillianceaudio.com. No part of this recording may be played for an audience or reproduced in any form. It may not be streamed, downloaded, broadcast, or copied without written permission. Address all inquiries to Brilliance Audio, P.O. Box 887, Grand Haven, Michigan, 49417.